I want to look at, now that we are just one day out from the midterms, which is crazy, the polling reality in regard to that. So I will say, as a caveat, yes, it is absolutely true. We are in unprecedented times and it's uncharted waters a little bit politically. So I think anything could happen. But polling does seem to favor heavily Republicans. And so that has to be known, at least if you're trying to give an honest analysis of the polling reality, right? And to kind of looking at where everything stands there. But all you can do is vote. So definitely make sure that you vote if you haven't already. So important. But take a look at this. The 538 generic congressional ballot, just generally who people favor, party versus party, has Republicans at 46.7% and Democrats at 45.5% of those polled. Real Clear Politics has Republicans at 47.9% and Democrats at 45.4%. So not a massive lead. You could totally see a situation where Democrats pull it out, but a lead nevertheless. Things look a little worse when you look at the 538 projections or kind of the simulations they run to take a look at. If you were to run 100 simulations, Republicans versus Democrats, who would win the House? Who would end up controlling the House after the midterms? And it puts Republicans at an 84 in 100 shot and Democrats at a 16 in 100 shot, which is a pretty big gap, but things that happen 16 out of 100 times do happen, and we could see that if things went really well tomorrow. But the most likely result is a Republican-controlled House, unfortunately. And then the Senate has changed a ton. For a while there, Democrats had a massive lead and were massively favored by 538. Now it has Republicans at 55 and 100, Democrats at 45 and 100. And you can see that change over time just pretty recently in the polling. Democrats were really favored and then just started dropping, and Republicans crossed over to being leading as the favored party to control the Senate. What's more scary than just the fact that if Democrats lose the House or Senate, especially both, all of the agenda of the Democratic Party is going to come to a halt. Just losing one is going to bring the agenda to a halt pretty significantly, but it would be devastating, to say the least, if really any of those losses happened, because good things could be done in the next 2 years if the Democratic Party continued to go in the direction it has been going in the previous 2 years. Not enough, but pretty significant things have been accomplished. A Republican-controlled House or Senate will bring that all to a halt. But what's even more scary than that is to think that people like Herschel Walker or Mehmet Oz could be the deciding factor in who controls the Senate, or tons of wild candidates on the House side. That those individuals could be in some of the highest positions of power after this midterm. Very scary. Here's a little bit breaking down voter enthusiasm, which plays a big role in this, and where that stands right now.
Our latest NBC News poll, election enthusiasm is now dead even at 73% for both Republicans and Democrats. With less than 24 hours until Election Day and control of Congress at stake, both parties are doing everything they can to sway last-minute voters. So what's at stake Tuesday? All 435 House seats, 35 Senate seats, and majority power in Congress. Our latest
So as of now, it does play a big role which party is more enthusiastic, which base of voters is more willing to make it happen. And the reason why you see very often the president's party not do very well in the midterms is because there's a big push for the president and the party around him during the general election in a presidential year. And then the midterms come around and the opposing party gets really motivated because they hate the president and hate the party that he represents. But the party that is, that of the president is less motivated because they got what they want. They're not thinking as much, I hate this person in power. And as we know, it seems to be the case that hatred is a much stronger motivator, unfortunately, than much else. So with that being said, these midterms seem to have motivation on both sides, and that means it likely will come down to that moderate independent vote. as is highlighted in this bit from MSNBC.
I don't think the bottom has completely dropped out for House Democrats. It's more a story in the last few weeks where we've seen the Senate outlook move a notch towards where the House already was. And in the last NBC poll, the final one, Democrats were tied with Republicans on voting enthusiasm. The problem for Democrats is still independent voters, and the fact that by 66 to 28, cost of living is more important to their vote choice than abortion. Just 28% of them approve of President Biden's handling of the economy. And so I think among late deciders, Republicans have a little bit more upside. We're looking at potentially a Republican gain between 15 and 25 seats, even as Republicans might gain the one seat they need to win control of the Senate.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Apologies. If Democrats have big losses in this election, it is going to be because of the economy and specifically inflation, because we understand besides inflation, there's tons of really great economic indicators, huge job growth, very, very, very low unemployment, GDP growth, but inflation is hitting people hard, and they blame the party, the president that's in power and his party, which is unfortunate because, as we've discussed extensively on this show, it's just not the case. It's just not the case that a good decision on the part of someone who is being hurt by the rising prices, by inflation, is to vote the Republican Party in power. The Democratic Party actually is, even though they don't do enough of the two parties, definitely the one that has any shot of materially improving your life, working people's lives, when you contrast them to the Republican Party. So it's really unfortunate that pretty much what is founded on a misunderstanding of what's causing these different things and who could accurately fix them or effectively fix them is likely, or based on the polling, likely to put Republicans in power who absolutely won't help people in those ways. But we will see. Definitely go vote if you haven't already. It is a huge day happening tomorrow, and I will be covering the midterms if you want to join me tomorrow evening. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before any of the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get access to an extra full show every Saturday that only members can see, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley, and there is a link in the description.